second and we're going to rock through this. Today is the conclusion of our Life Insurance Awareness Month and our illustration training. So, thank you, Fitzroy. Give it up for Fitz. Yay! So, real quickly, these are the things that you have to consider. I just want to remind, by the way, who has played with the software over the past 3 weeks since we started training on illustrations on their own? Nice and high. Who has not? It's pretty hard to learn stuff if you're not doing your homework. Pretty hard. Pretty hard. For kids and for grown-ups. Like, you got a class, then you need to do the homework, class, then you do the homework. Otherwise, you can sit in class halls, like, you can faithfully make every single class. If you don't do the homework, you're going to flunk the test. And that's just the way school works, and it's the way real life works. You got to do the homework, right? So, option A, level or option A? Cash value, repeat after me. Cash value plus life insurance equals death benefit. Cash value plus life insurance equals death benefit. Okay? So, if I've got a $500,000 death benefit and I have a level or option A, day one I've got zero cash value, so I'm buying $500,000 of life insurance. $500,000 of life insurance plus $0 in cash value equals $500,000 in death benefit. At some point down the road, I've built up $100,000 in cash value. At that point, I'm only buying $400,000 of insurance. So $100,000 of cash value plus $400,000 of life insurance equals $500,000 of death benefit. Every year in a permanent policy, my cost per $1,000 of insurance increases. With a level or an option A, as long as my cash value grows every year, then the amount of life insurance I'm buying every year decreases, which helps me to stabilize the costs, keeps them from growing too fast. Sometimes they'll even go down 1 year after the next, depending on the performance of the cash value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And everybody said?
Yes.
Yes. Increasing or option B, cash value. Cash value plus life insurance equals death benefit. Cash value plus life insurance equals death benefit. It's important to understand that because people confuse the term death benefit and life insurance all the time. They're not synonyms. They're not the same. So you have to understand that. So on an increasing or option B, I'm buying $500,000 of life insurance forever. On top of that, I add my cash value. The cash value plus my life insurance equals my death benefit. Day one, I've got zero cash value and $500,000 of insurance. So zero cash value plus $500,000 life insurance equals $500,000 death benefit. It's the exact same on day one. But now, as my cash value grows, and all of a sudden I've got $100,000 in cash value, right? In this scenario, I've got $100,000 in cash value, and I'm still buying $500,000 of life insurance. So my death benefit is $600,000 of death benefit. See the difference?
Yes.
See the difference?
Yes.
Tracy, you don't see the difference? Okay, so here...
But I'm new.
I know you are. It's okay. Here, my cash value is happening right? It's my cash value plus my insurance equals my death benefit. Okay? So the more cash value I have, the less life insurance I need to buy to equal $500,000. Because my death benefit is staying level at $500,000. Here, this is increasing. My death benefit is always increasing because I'm buying $500,000 of life insurance and I'm adding the cash value to my life insurance to come up with the death benefit. So as long as my cash value is growing, my death benefit is growing or increasing. Make a little bit more sense? And everybody said?
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. Got it. increasing, converting to level. Sometimes it converts to level at age 70. Sometimes you can click a button that says reduce face amount at the earliest option. So I'm starting off with an increasing policy where I'm buying $500,000 of insurance. I'm buying $500,000 of life insurance, and the cash value gets added to it. So my cash value plus my life insurance equals my death benefit. At a certain point in the past, either age 70 is oftentimes choose, or if you check the box reduce face amount at earliest option, it'll automatically calculate. It should be 68, 64, 71. It converts from an increasing to a level. At that point, all this cash, the amount of insurance I'm beginning to buy goes down. My death benefit goes down, but it helps to also keep my costs down while increasing my cash value. While increasing my cash value. So why do we go through these things? Because the most important thing to understand is, what's the goal? I literally, true story, I sat down, Ramon Jaron, who's an attorney in the city of Riverside, for the city, brought in another attorney that we met with this past week. And she was life licensed. She had an IUL, and she was pretty confident of how it worked, because she's a smart gal. She does very well financially. We got a $2,000 a month commitment out of her, so she does very well financially. She's a successful attorney. She understands the importance of using cash value life insurance, right? I literally went through those 2 pages with her. I've drawn them out thousands of times for clients. I don't do it with every client, because it's my job to choose option A or B, or increasing the level for the client. They don't need to know how I construct, right, the pizza. They just need to know, like, is the pizza going to taste good, right? But in her case, because she thought she had such a good understanding, that she's telling me about her policy, and then as I start looking at it, I wanted her to understand, because she had a lot of confidence in her agent. And what I wanted to do, as I've taught you guys before, was create doubt about her knowledge and certainty without attacking her, without confronting her, without saying she's wrong, but by asking questions and then teaching her how things work. She was smart enough to understand how things work, and then she goes, wait, the way I thought it worked isn't true, and I got it from this guy. This is the way it really works, and this guy is providing me with better knowledge, a better understanding, okay? So that's why I go through and teach these steps, to prevent objections, but also to gain credibility and undermine other people's credibility. When somebody has strong opinions about something, all you have to do is, through questions, is get them to doubt or question what they believe to be true. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All the English speakers said?
Yes.
So, you need to understand what the goal is, because one of the things she was saying was, no, I went from this agent to this other agent, and I sat in on one of these seminars, and the other agent said that with a cash value life insurance policy, that increasing is always the way you want to go. I'm like, that's not true. She's like, well, yeah, he said it was, and here's why. I go, well, I said, like, it's convenient when things are very black and white. I said, but when it comes to stuff, I think there's a lot of shades of gray. I said, what's most important is understanding what's the goal. Is it cash value at retirement? Is it maxing out life insurance till death? Is it the goal to have guaranteed permanent life insurance no matter what? Is it to max out the savings component, like how big of a pile of cash you come up with as compared to the income part of it? Like, all of these goals could change the way that I'm designing it, whether I use option A, option B, option C, how much face amount I do, whether or not I check the no lapse guarantee button. These all affect how I'm designing the illustration. So it's never like, I would never say it's all like, Stephen Carroll wanted a permanent life insurance policy for right now at their stage. I'm not going to do an option B. That'd be insane. Like, how in the world can I justify that? Unless they're gazillionaires and they're like massively overfunding this thing for the next 10 or 15 years. It's just unlikely, right? So, I literally went through this with her. So, more insurance, which is an increasing policy, right, creates more cash that can be put in. So it creates a bigger bucket that I can put more cash in, more insurance. But it also means more what? Costs. So more insurance means more costs, but it also means I can put more money in it. Less insurance means it's less expensive, but it also means a smaller bucket. I can't put as much cash in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, smaller bucket, option A, like if a guy's in his 50s and he wants to start a permanent policy because he wants permanent protection, or he's in his maybe 40s and wants to start saving but he's behind, I'm more likely going to look to an option A first. If somebody's younger in their 20s and 30s, I'm more likely to look to an option B because their income's probably going to increase over time. They're starting out at $200 a month, but we want to get them to $800 or $1,000 down the road. But once again, I'll play with it both ways. Okay. So we're gonna jump right in here in just a second into doing the option B. We already went through the option A 2 weeks ago. But here's what I want you to understand. Okay. Here's what I'm looking for when I run illustrations. I'm going to run the same illustration, make small tweaks a number of times. What I'm always looking for is what's the distribution in income per year at age 65 or 70. Now, when do I normally set up income to distribute at? 70. Why 70? What if they want to retire earlier?
Well, they can use their taxable money, their taxable chunk from their IRA and 401k.
Excellent.
While they still have mortgages and possible write-offs, they can forestall their Social Security as long as possible and then just take their tax-free money as late as possible.
Right, exactly right. So if they've got several different buckets of money, they got one called an IRA, one called a 401k, one called Social Security, one called their IUL or Roth IRA. The 401k and the IRA, they're going to have to pay taxes on. So do I want it to grow even bigger so they'll pay more taxes on it, or do I want to start early? Start early. I don't have to start pulling money from all 3 or 4 buckets at the same time. It's not like I have to turn them all on. I can pick and choose. So I'm going to start this early. Why? Because they're going to have to pay taxes on it. The next one, Social Security, they'll have to pay taxes on. But the longer I wait, it goes up a guaranteed 8% per year. The equivalent, the income's going to grow the longer they wait. And what's the equivalency of an 8% growth? Well, when you're in your 60s, you tend not to invest so aggressively that you're getting an 8% rate of return on your money net of fees. Like, nobody in their 60s invests that aggressively. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You'd have to be getting like a 9.5 or 10% rate of return in your 60s to get an 8% net of fees, but by delaying Social Security, that's in effect what you're doing. Lastly, my IUL or my Roth IRA, I'm not going to pay income taxes on, so I want that thing to grow as big as possible, wait as long as possible before I start pulling income out, because it doesn't matter how big it gets, I'm never going to pay income taxes on that if I do the withdrawals correctly, right?
Right.
So it's best for the client. Guess who else it's best for? Me. Why? Because it gives this pile of money that they're contributing to, that I'm setting up, more time to grow, and it gives it a chance to get bigger. Bigger is
Better.
Bigger is
Better.
Bigger is always better, right? So that's the direction. So when I'm running the illustration, I'm looking for income typically at age 70 per year. I'm looking for what's the minimum that they can fund this policy with. I always want to make sure that no matter what happens, the wheels fall off the wagon, they'll always be able to afford this policy. It's not going to lapse on them. I'm not worried about it lapsing during the first 13 months when I get a chargeback. I don't want it to ever lapse on them. It's not about the chargeback, it's about this getting them to the finish line. Number 2, I want to see what's the max. What's the guideline level premium? What's the max they can put in this? I want to make sure that the bucket's big enough that down the road they put more money into it. They're going to be able to if they want to. Does that make sense? I don't want too big of a bucket, but I want it to be big enough. I want there to be some range here for them. Okay? The other thing I'm going to look at is their target premium. Why do I look at their target premium?
Because that's what our income is based on.
Amen, sister. I want to get paid. I want to get promoted. I want to win a trip. I want to win a contest. Yeah. I'm not doing this for free. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm not a 403c. I'm in business to make money. Right? So I want to make sure that I'm getting paid fairly. So that I'm going to check along with these other things, right? And then lastly, I'm gonna sort of look at the long-term costs. In other words, I can compare what are all of the fees and expenses added up from to age 65 or 70 compared to how much they're gonna be saving in taxes. So the first thing I need to do is run base coverage. Base coverage is what? Most expensive. That's all of the expensive stuff. It also creates the most what? It also creates the most what? Money for me, right? Money for who? Me, okay? What's it also gonna create? The least amount of cash value or income for the client, right? But this is one boundary. I wanna see what this boundary looks like. Then immediately following, I'm gonna go over here and do the least amount of base coverage and the most ARTR coverage. What's that gonna do? It's gonna be the least expensive, the least amount of income for, and the most amount of income for client. So I want to see this extreme and that extreme. And then I'm going to start playing with it. I might go 25-75, 75-25, 50-50, 60-40, and I want to find a healthy balance. One that helps the client reach their income goals, right? It's not my fault they started saving late. It's not my fault they're behind. But I want to do everything I can to help them get there. I want it to be like, if I was on the other side of the table, I want to be able to look at this and go, it's cost effective, the cost of insurance aren't too much, I'm going to make enough money in it, the tax benefits are going to be, it's a good decision for me. I want it to be a good decision for them. Not just one that I can sell them on or close them. I can sell them on something they have no understanding how it works. I can close them on something that's going to completely screw them because I've got skills. But that's not what I want to do. I want to help them design this in a way that's going to get them there. Okay? So I'm going to find that balance of it creates the income for them. It's cheap. On a bad month, a bad year, they're laid off. They'll still be able to keep the policy in force. They've got enough room to where they can put as much money as I think they'll reasonably be able to afford 5 or 10 or 12 or 15 years from now. And I want to make sure that I'm getting paid. And I'm going to find that balance typically somewhere in here. Typically somewhere in here. It's just a matter of playing with the dials like you did 2 Saturdays ago. Not last Saturday, right? It was 2 Saturdays ago? 2 Saturdays. I forget what happened last Saturday, but it was something different. That has nothing to do with this, and it should never be written on a paper.
You know what, Christine didn't want to, we had to
The
convince her.
last time she'll be invited to my office, she is no longer a preferred product provider. Okay, so let's go over here. We went over all of the option A's, and I showed you guys how to do that. We're going to continue with some option B's now. Grab my glasses. We started this the last class, and we didn't get very far. Proposed insured is not changed. Okay, nor has my login. You need to be appointed with the carrier before they'll let you use their illustration software. It looks like I'm appointed. We've got Joe Sixpack. He's 37. He's male. He's a preferred plus non-smoker. We're illustrating the PIP LT with high cap. And all this stuff here we're not touching. What are we doing to this stuff down here? Not touching. It's like my 15-year-old daughter. Okay, we're going to specify coverage here. We got $350,000 in face amount. I'm going. I think we already tried it this way last time, but just to sort of pick back up. Let's just go all base coverage. So what's all basic coverage? The expensive or the cheap stuff?
Expensive.
Expensive. Go increasing. I'm going to reduce the. Let's not even reduce the face. And it's not going to let me run it. Watch. I've got it set up for this chart of contributions, 350 for years 1 through 3, 450 for years 4 through 6, 600 for 7 through 9, 750 year 10 through age 69, because in 70 we're going to start distributing. By the way, for me, the most common default mode is to go in 3-year increments like this, and I usually tend to go up like $150 a pop. I think like 3 years from now, you ought to be able to save another $150 a month, no matter what you do. Like you should have paid off debts, you should be earning a little bit more. I don't think that's unreasonable. And about every 3 years, sometimes I'll do it every other, depending on the client. Sometimes I'll do it more, but I rarely do less than $150. That's very reasonable, I think, for just about anybody to get on a target of increasing their savings, right? But you want to get them up to 6, 800 a month, 1,000 a month, 1,200 a month, 1,400 a month over time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, why? Because they're gonna need to fund that if they wanna create legitimate income in retirement, right? So I'm gonna save this. I don't even think it'll run because I don't think it'll let me run an increasing with all base. Let's go ahead and hit calculate and see what happens. I think it'll fault out on me. We used to be able to do these, and now they say they're illegal. Okay, so what does it say there? Watch. What did it say? It said the ABR, right, needs it can't be the base can't be more than 50%. So we have to go back here. Remember how we had it on all base? If this was level, I could do all base, but it's not level, it's increasing. So we're gonna go specify coverage. We're going to keep the same face amount. I'm going to go 50% here because they say that's the minimum I have to do here. And then 50% here. Because 50% plus 50% equals 100. I'm going to leave all this the same and let's see how it calculates. Is it calculating? Hello. Earth to Pack Life. Or Corona as it was in pregame. Corona to Pack Life. Where did he go? Where'd my Corona buddy go? He's not in here.
Oh, it's succeeded, you just gotta put all your stuff in.
What's that?
It's succeeded, you just gotta put all your stuff in.
Okay.
It's not compliant. Because there's no name, address, license number, blah.
I'll determine what's compliant.
Oh, I forgot, he's the boss.
You're the OSJ, or the BRM, or whatever.
Something's not. This is like. So we have troubles with the internet. What's going on?
I think their software might be down right now. If I tried to log into
Oh,
mine,
come on.
and it was saying not able
What
to.
is it up with?
The illustration is fine, it's just other information.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not doing anything when I click on other buttons.
How about preview? Top.
It looks to be like. We're connected, it says.
I think Pack Life itself.
Can all of you move down just a little bit that way?
Really?
Yeah, 'cause I tried to log in into mine.
Is that too bad?
Should we tease him and tell him because
Could
of
be.
that?
Let me see if I can make an adjustment. See if it's updated on my laptop. Guys, here's a quick lesson. Install updates.
You don't have to because the
Oh, I don't? I just did.
because it expires 10/20.
Crud.
Oh, well.
People
Did I
say
cancel
crud.
it? Are we doing that then?
No.
Once it's started, I'm committed? Yep. Control Alt Delete, does that still work? I forget I switch and match in most of my worlds. Control Alt Delete. Live. Transfer that bad boy. And the task. Okay. So let's try and redo this per Castro without installing the updates. Thank you, Christopher. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this either, right? Can I just let it open or no? A mandatory update is available for install.
Mandatory.
Is that like what? Is that like the same as when my wife gives me an ultimatum or something that's mandatory? Is it like more of a suggestion, or is this like a real mandatory?
I have no idea.
A real mandatory?
Mine's already updated.
Yeah, we probably could have had the update done by now if it wasn't for Castro.
You're welcome.
Mainly his fault. By the way, when you're with a client, the reason I didn't have the install updated is because I wanted to teach you guys a lesson so it doesn't happen to you in the field. You don't want to rely on internet connection if you don't have to at a client's home. If you've got software that you can download and keep updated, that's always the best option when you're at a client's home. Alright, let's switch it. Let's get right to where we were again. Joe. Come on. Wrong Spelio.
That's wrong.
Super preferred. Oh wait, this is. I don't like express inputs, in case you guys can tell. I like to do real illustrations, not express inputs. When you do the express, it's just like a shortcut. He was 37, but the express takes a lot of the opportunities out of your hand to control the client's destiny and to really customize things. Okay, we wanna.
LIRP,
What?
LIRP, up above,
Here or
Yeah.
here?
either or,
Either or. Thank you.
life insurance for retirement.
Got it.
They changed the name to something else.
Okay,
Right.
so we were at
It's still
350.
LIRP.
We were at 50% here, 50% there, increasing. Our premiums were $350 a month. See how easy this is? Years 1 to 3. Let's go 500. Years 4 to 6.
Michael, can you ask everyone to move down a little?
650. Years 7 to 9. And then let's
No.
go
I think you were, yeah.
8 bills. Here's 10. And then here I go A for age 69. Everybody got that? Those of you who brought your laptops can play along at home. We'll go 100% here. 0 here. We're just going to max this baby out because actually this has been performing at a higher rate over the past 20 years than what they even allow us to illustrate. I'm going to use solve here for the amount of money that they're going to take home in retirement. Withdraw standard loan. We're going to start at age what? 70. And I always go for 20 years, which brings us to age 90. No riders. No policy details. Output design. I always go additional reports.
Analysis of charges.
Analysis of charges. I always want to see the costs, and I always show the client the costs. That's one of the biggest objections I would have if I was a client. It's that's an objection many clients. So I would rather bring it up than have them bring it up. Calculating, please wait. Calculating, please wait. Not responding. That's awesome. Boop. Is it really not responding, or is it just saying it's not responding?
Mine said it wasn't responding.
Here's what. Speak up, please.
It said it wasn't responding and then it popped up.
That's what usually happens to mine.
Just take some time.
Pack Life is about the slowest churner in the business, it seems like to me. By the way, while it's chewing, I stood up for being in the field this week, but I didn't close. I did propose 15 IULs to a company on, what the heck day was it? Tuesday. So the company that I set up the 401k plan for that's got 1,150 employees, the owner of the company wants to do something for his highly compensated employees. So the government, when they created the tax laws related to 401ks and retirement plans for companies, there's laws called the ERISA guidelines. So if you're a highly compensated employee, you're limited as to how much you can contribute. Most people can contribute $18,000 a year into a 401k, and as long as you have a healthy, well-balanced 401k with lots of employees participating, the highly compensated people can do so. In this plan, we expect that because there's a lot of like $15 and $20 hour workers in this company out of the 1,150, if they don't contribute a lot of money or a lot of them don't participate, there's going to be one of these ERISA guidelines that says, hey, you highly compensated guys, you can only contribute 3% more than the average employees contribute. Well, if they want to put in 18 grand and the average employee is like putting in 4 grand a year, they're sort of hosed. And the guys that want to participate in the 401k the most, the owner wanted a 401k plan for them, and yet their hands are sort of going to be tied behind their back. So the owner said, I want a plan that A, I can give bonuses to my guys and get tax benefits. B, I want a plan where they can contribute their own money to and get tax benefits. And C, I want to be able to discriminate. And I said, well, the good news is we got the Trump administration in place, so it seems like discrimination is more popular than ever, and he laughed about that, right? I said, no, I said, this plan that I'm proposing allows you to discriminate. So we can say, James is the best employee I've got. I want to give him a $10,000 bonus this year, and James, for every additional dollar of your own money you put in the program, I'm going to match you $1. Jessica's all right. She's pretty good. I'm going to give her a $5,000 bonus, and for every dollar she puts in, I need to match it 50 cents on the dollar. Pasquale? I'm going to give you a $2,000 bonus, and for every dollar you put in, I'll put in $0.25. I can pick and choose, and then Hope, she always brings the worst food to the potlucks, no bonus. You can contribute to the program, no matching. Okay? Complete discrimination, and there's no laws against it. He can pick and choose who he's going to give the bonuses to, how much, and then how much he wants to match. It's a mirror 401k. Voya, it's typically called an executive bonus, but Voya's got a program called Solar that we'll teach you guys about later that's got a unique tax benefit to it that no other executive bonus program, no other IUL on the planet does at this point. So when I proposed it, he was originally looking at 8 to 10 highly compensated employees. When we were done, that number shifted to 15. And he actually said this. I actually brought Rick Gallego from Voya with me, which I rarely do, but I wanted to on this case because he knows this product inside and out. And so about halfway through the presentation, the owner of this company said, you know what? I told Rick before we go in, I go, look, he's probably not going to be a client. I said, because guys, this company, like 5 years ago, was worth like $25 million. I don't know what it's worth today, but guys like this, I said, typically they're putting all their money into their company, and they're growing their company, and typically not looking as much for these kinds of things, because he's got a billion ways to do this, right? I said, so don't make it about him, make it about what he can do for his employees. If he wants to do one, he'll let us know, but like the focus really isn't him, right? About halfway through the presentation, he says, you know, I was just thinking, he said, he was asking the right questions, totally getting it. He's like, 5 years ago, he said, I didn't understand why anybody would use insurance as an investment. He goes, now I totally get it. He gave me some examples as to why he understood it. But he goes, I've got this $5 million level term policy that the company pay. I don't even know what it costs the company, but they pay every year. It's like a 20-year level term, $5 million. He's like, could I have the company replace that with one of these for me with $5 million face value? I'm not sure if we can. Is that something you'd be interested in taking a look at? Let me make a note of that and get back to you. Of course we can. Right? So that'll be a pretty good pop. We get 15 of different size ones and a $5 million one on top. Let's take a look at, now that it's done doing all the math for us, let's take a look at how this bad boy looks. Non-guaranteed detail. Okay, so what do we see? All the money is going in. See how all the money is going in? Right? At no point does it say we can't fit the money. Right? If we go back to comparing this, because remember, this is the same guy at the same age that we had before here when we were going through the mins, the maxes, and so forth. Where is that? So, before, here were our numbers. when we made it the most expensive for us, the target was $6,700, right? Is what we get paid on in points. The client had to put in at least $331 a month to keep the policy in place, and he could put in as much as $569 a month, right? This was option A, that when we maxed it out, and the income would be zero, because it imploded. When we went all the way back to the minimum, the target was $1,127, so almost no income for us, almost no points for us. The client could put in as little as $123 a month and keep the same policy in place. They could put in as much as $521, and it would create an income stream of $50,868. Okay? Then we ran it somewhere in the middle over here, and we were able to get it up to $62.52 a year as the max, $14.27 as the min, and we were able to get the income up. And then somewhere in the middle over here, we got the target to where it was 5,000, so we're still getting paid pretty decent, getting some points, right? Not as much as the max, but way more than the minimum. Does that make sense? So target's important. What about guideline level premium? He can put up to $554 a month in. The minimum is $268, so not a huge spread, but decent. And he would pull $48,000 a month, $48,000 a year for 20 years of income out of it. So that sort of seemed like a happy medium for us, right? And that was with 75 base, 25% of the cheap stuff.
That was a
75% of the expensive stuff, 25% of the cheap stuff. So imagine, just by making this small adjustment, my income goes down by what? That's like 15 to 20%, probably 18%. But in this one, the client gets zero income. In this one, the client gets $48,000 a year.
Yeah.
So literally just adjusting the knobs, that little bit of a difference makes a massive difference in how it works out and create a win-win, right? So what do we look at here? Down here, this gives you all the stats you need. This is the advantage of having the software on your laptop as opposed to online, is each time it gives me all the key stats I want down here. So down here, if we look, target is $6,300. That's what I'm getting paid on. That's my points. Minimum premium is $4,000 a year. What is that a month? $350? $3.25? I think it's about $3.25. Guideline level is $12,700. So I can go from $3.25 a month up to $1,000 a month. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
This is GLP, guideline level premium, right? But if we look down, so all those factors look good, right? But if we go down, my income is only about $25,000. So it's a little bit more than half, but it's way off of what I was able to do from an income standpoint over here. And because it was an option B, I've only got this at $350,000 of life insurance, not $500 like the others. Yes, Chris?
Did you change the increasing to 870 on this one?
The increasing, no, I did. So that's what we'll do next. Let's take the same one and go reduce the face amount at the earliest time possible, and let's see exactly how it changes. Calculating, please wait, not responding. That's next, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Good, Christopher.
Could
You've done this once or twice.
theoretically.
Theoretically.
Actually, like, I rarely do these anymore. Like, rarely, because if you're in the field with me, you're doing this. I already know how to do it. There's no reason for me to do it. If you're in the field with me, you're doing the data collecting, writing everything down. I already know how to do that. You need to learn how to do it. If we're in the field together and we're doing a financial needs analysis, you're inputting the stuff, putting together financial needs analysis, then I'm coming in behind you and tweaking it and teaching you how to make some adjustments. I already know how to do them. I don't need to learn how. So it's like when I'm training somebody, I put a ton of work and a ton of pressure on them. I'm not there to do it because it's just faster and it's more convenient. I already know how to do it. I already know how I like it. It's your job to learn how to do it, and I can't teach you if you're not doing the work.
Right.
So we go back to non-guaranteed detail, and even when we reduce the face amount at the earliest, the income's still pretty much the same. See that? And target, minimum, that nothing really changes. So let's go and make this base. Now we know what that is, right? Does everybody Can somebody write down 6,300, 4,100 for minimum, 12,007 for GLP in the interest of time? And this is the max that we can do on an increasing is 50-50. Let's go to the other end and fill in the other end of the spectrum and run columns. So what we just did at 50-50 on an increasing is we went with as much base coverage as they'll allow us to do at Pac Life. What we're going to do is swing it all the way down here now and do the least amount of base coverage, which means the least expensive for the client, the least amount of points, and the least amount of money for me, but the greatest amount of income for them. So that was the most points on a B that we can get on an increasing. That was the most expensive for them, right? That was the most amount of points and income for me, the least amount of income. We're going to swing the pendulum all the way over here and see the difference, and then we're going to see if we can find a happy medium in between. So what did it do to the minimum? What was the minimum before?
4092.
401.
4092. So the minimum was $325 a month last time. Now the minimum is under $200 a month. Now, some of my clients, $409 a month might be nothing as a minimum. Like they could always do that. Other clients may need it to go down to this. Guideline level premium was what before? $12,700, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the high end, how much they can max it out, only went down a little. And what about the target? What was the target before?
6303.
6303, now it's 21. So the target went down by 2/3. So if you went to your job this week and your boss told you for the betterment of our clients and customers, we want to create even more value for our clients and customers. So this week we're going to pay you 2/3 less money than we normally do for the same amount of work. How many of you are like, yes, I want to help our clients. Awesome. Nobody? You guys a bunch of greedy, like selfish. Come on, we're all the do-gooders.
And their income only goes, they only get an extra $500 a month. Their
Well,
income
the
only
income's
goes
31,000. What was it before?
It was 20, it was just over 25.
That's 25,000. That's $6,000. That's
More.
that's a 25% increase. $6,000
So
is
we give them
25% of
25%
25.
increase,
Yes.
but we take 60% less. But I'm really
Yes.
seeing where when you fiddle with the numbers, level versus increasing, and you actually really start to look like it.
So let's make one more
makes it
adjustment.
easy.
Let's
Not
make one
guesswork.
more adjustment. Instead of minimum, now when we're at minimum, this is 25% and
Okay.
this is 75. The most they'll let us go is 50-50. So let's find a number between 50 and 25. Let's choose 38%. And that stays fill in, and let's just check real quick. See if it makes any difference. Okay, so the minimum is the same, GLP looks about the same,
It's
the
still
target is
calculating.
still making me baby vomit the back of my throat. That's
No,
a
it has-
lot of
it's
work
still
for
calculating.
2,100. Oh, okay,
Those
so
are the
it
old
is?
numbers, dude.
Okay. Sorry, I'm impatient. Got a soccer game to go to, a basketball game to go to, I gotta go to Catalina with a whole bunch of
Ooh,
winners.
That's prettier.
So what did it wind up? So minimum now is under 300 a month, like 280-ish. Maximum stays around $1,000 a month, right? Target is somewhere in the middle, right? Target's somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit more fair. I don't have a problem writing a policy for 4,800 points. And income is better. Maybe that's a good fit. But of the options that we went through for the client, I could go 4,800 here, or remember I could come over and get 5,000 target points here with the option A that we started with, and create significantly more income for the client. 48,000 a year instead of 27. This was when we did an option A here, it was the same client, same age, same rating. Actually, the client had 500,000 of insurance here, but they only have 350 there.
And if income
So they
is
got more
controlled-
coverage and more income, and I got paid more.
And if income is their goal, then that's,
Income's my goal, it's their goal, plus they get more death benefits. So by doing option, like you might think, well, if he's 37, he's young, I could go option B. I even got him putting a ton of money in this, right? And yet option A is making him way more money in this case. I know some people don't believe in doing option A. It just goes to show you what, like, if I'm your client, I want you, and this is me, I want you to do option A for me. Don't do option B for me. Does that make sense? Any questions? Is there a right or a wrong answer? But there's a better and a best answer.
yeah.
And the only way that you do it is by tweaking back and forth. And you need to tweak back and forth so that you begin to get a feel for the nuances. I go from option A to option B. I go to reduce face, right? I like, you know what? Maybe like 500,000 option A I can't put enough money in, but 500,000 option B is going to cost too much and hurt their income. So maybe I go to 650,000 and keep it option A so that I can put enough money in there. They get more cash value or income down the road, right? And it's not too expensive. Sometimes increasing the amount of life insurance that you're doing on an option A will be more productive for a client than a smaller option B policy. But you've got to sort of play with the dials both. And the only way, I could do trainings on this every Saturday for the remainder of the year. You're going to suck at them.
Unless you do them.
The only way you're going to get good is by doing exactly like just playing with them. And you can't break the software. You can't break the internet. You're not going to hurt anybody by playing with it. You're going to start to get the hang of it just by playing with it. There's nothing bad that could happen by you just playing with the numbers and playing with the software. Nothing. When I was new, when Jason was training me, and I was like in my first couple of months in the business, I'd spend hours playing with this kind of stuff. I'd go, okay, I've got this buddy Ron Reyes and his wife Danielle. What if he bought a policy? What if she did? I've got this other buddy Charles Williams. He's older. What if? What? And I just would play these what if scenarios with people I knew and go, what could I do? How could I create it? I had an imaginary client. I grew up sort of not very popular, so I had a lot of imaginary friends, and I would create all these policies for my imaginary friends, right? But that's literally how I got good at it. Question?
You're using Pack Life because they're pretty quick, software's downloadable, blah, blah, blah. Now, once you get these kind of nuances and you work out your sweet spot, these basics are for just insurance policies in general. So when you find a sweet spot, then you can take your sweet spots and then compare Nationwide, Transamerica,
Yes.
Pack Life, Voya, all your different.
Yes. And
So you don't have to sweet spot every different carrier. You can kind of.
yeah, and each carrier is going to be a little bit different, so the sweet spot might move by a delta of 15 or 20% in either direction, but this is time consuming when you first start doing it.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, like, you can crank these bad boys out fast and make adjustments and make them spot on. And then you can go from Pack Life to Nationwide to Trans to Voya, like, because once you sort of get the rhythm of how do I touch these buttons and how's it going to manipulate the numbers, and these are the numbers I'm always looking to manipulate. How can I manipulate these numbers, create great income for me, great income for the client, max death benefit for the client? How can I make it affordable on the minimum? How can I give them enough room to, based on their income and their age, to jack as much cash as they'd ever want away in this thing? How can I custom design it perfect for them, perfect for me, create a win-win? You start doing it, man, you can crank them out super fast. I would encourage you to get really good at one. I get like really good at Pack Life or really good at Nationwide or really good at Voya first, and then I go on to the next and the next. Like the express inputs from Pack, and I know Trans has some of these that they just sort of make it dummy-proof because they think we're...
Dummies.
Well, no, I mean, the truth of the matter is a lot of our agents want to be dummies. They don't want to learn how, they just make it easy, just make it easy, just make it easy. I just want to get the sale. And I never took I want it to be easy. I always took it to like, I want to learn to be able to do it the best possible way, and I want to practice that so many times until the best possible way gets easy. So the best possible, this is the best possible way when I'm able to play back and forth, right? And here's what I believe. Like this fancy pants guy that we brought in from Waddell and Reed Wednesday, right, as a guest of Hope's. He ain't no smarter than any of you guys. Now he thinks he is because he's in the industry, he's got the licenses, and guys in the industry always think they're so smart, and how could you just recruit people that have people just do this stuff? I'm like, well, pal, looking at your resume, what was he in the past that I took a shot at him on?
Furniture.
Yeah, I was like,
sales.
yeah, he worked at Mathis Brothers. I'm like, hey, no offense, pal. I go, but you worked at Mathis Brothers. I'm like, so you're some sort of furniture retail sales guy, and now you're my advisor? What makes you qualified? Well, all the training and stuff. Oh, that's what makes our agents qualified too, is all the training and stuff. Like, get off your freaking high horse. Everybody starts brand new in this industry, but what you've got to understand is some of you guys have this concept in your head, well, if this was really a professional and reputable firm and really was as good as these other firms, they'd never let somebody like me in. Like Groucho Marx, Jessica, you probably remember him, but some of these other guys don't, right? He used to say, like, I wouldn't want to be a member of a club that would have somebody like me as a member. Right? That's his way of sort of being self-deprecating. Some of us are like, oh, well, Merrill Lynch or Dean Witter or Smith Barney or UBS would never hire me, so therefore, if this firm hires me, it must be watered down. It's not watered down. What we know is we have confidence that you can learn it. These are learnable skills, and it just takes time. It doesn't have to take a sophisticated IQ. It doesn't take like a certain type of personality. It just takes, you just got to practice this stuff. That's all. My daughter's not naturally gifted at math, but she does well in math. Why? Because she does the homework. She has to do far more homework and work far harder at it than my son does, but he doesn't necessarily get better grades than her at math. She just has to work harder at it. She's better in English than him. She also gets better grades than him in English because he doesn't work as hard at English as she does math. Right? So you can learn these things, but you're never going to learn if you don't do the homework. Once you start doing the homework, Beth's been with us a reasonable short period of time. Life license 6, 63, 65. What makes her special? Well, there's a lot of things that makes her special, but you're special too. She's not specially gifted, and that's why she has the licenses and you don't. Right? Well, Hope had this big shot guy down as a guest Wednesday. What makes Hope so special? Well, a lot of things makes her special. But not so special that that couldn't have been your guest. If you would have just made the calls on a daily basis and followed the script. Really? So it's you're good enough. Right the way you are right now, you're good enough. You don't need any more training to be good enough. What you need to do is more homework and practice these things more with real people. The more calls you make, the more you put yourself in situations where you really get to learn this stuff, because it's not like, I know I should do the homework. When you make the calls and you have a guest, and then we go to do a financial needs analysis with the guest, guess what happens when we go sit down and make a recommendation? That's called a test. And you find a way to schedule the time to get yourself ready for the test and do the homework. Why? Because you want to pass the test. You want to help the client make the money.
Right.
When you don't make the calls, there's never any tests. So you just keep coming back for the classroom work, which feels good for a period of time. And then it doesn't feel so good because it feels like it's not working for me, and it crushes your beliefs and your doubts. Right? The homework, the tests bring out the best in us. We had practice yesterday with the boys. I taught them a new zone defense. At 11 years old, sometimes a zone defense is more difficult than a man-on-man defense. And I was very patient with teaching them, but then when they don't listen, whistle, run a lap. Whistle, run a lap. Why? Because we got a test coming up on Wednesday, and I want them to be ready for it. I want our practices to be harder than any games that they go through, so I push them, but I always let them know, like, hey, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. You're unbelievable. I'm so lucky to get a chance to do this stuff with you guys. Don't mistake me pushing you or making you run laps for me not liking you or being mad at you. I'm not mad at you, and I love you guys. But I want them to work hard and pay more attention in practice so the games are easy. So far, we're 2-0, and we've outscored our opponents 82-14. So I think my philosophy is working. The unfortunate thing is, it's working better for 11-year-old boys than it is for a bunch of 30 and 40 and 50-year-old adults in this room. It's the same philosophy, but they're responding to the challenge. They're responding to the homework. And at the end of the year, we go undefeated, and we run up the score, and it's like 300 points for us and 28 for the opponents. It's 11-year-old football. It doesn't matter. But what you're being not tested on completely matters. Completely matters. It's your future, it's your legacy, it's your financial independence, it's being able to support your spouse, your children, your parents. Like, the stakes are huge. And sometimes we get lulled into pretending like there's no tests. There's a test. Hey, we got a test every month. It's called the Leaders Bulletin. We got a test every Tuesday and Friday. It's called Did I Get a Deposit? The tests go on and on and on. You can opt out of the tests all you want, but you're never going to grow without being tested. You're never going to have a great testimony in front of a fast start school, a wealth bowl, or a convention without being tested, right? So don't resist the stress, don't resist the pressure, don't resist the test, embrace it, move towards the heat, just like Hope has done this week. I don't feel like it, I know I need it, so she lets me know she doesn't. The easy thing to do is not to let me know, to sort of hide and to hope I don't ask her what her accountability was and hope she gets away with it. That's the easy thing to do. The uncomfortable thing to do is to go, hey, I don't feel like it today, and put herself out there. So decide that you want to be tested, sign up for the tests, and put yourself in a position to win. You're terrific and you're special the way you are. What I want to do is bring out the best in you. I want you to grow. You're only going to grow if you allow yourself to be accountable and if you allow yourself to be tested. Nobody grows really anywhere near the capacity without accountability, without being tested. Ever. Ever. So decide, I want to be tested every week, right? Your kids get report cards sent home. Does their grades matter to you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Hell yes. And if they don't do well, what do? There's consequences. We get report cards week after week after week here, and you pretend like, well, mommy and daddy's report card doesn't matter. Like, are you sharing with your kids your WFG report card? Like, here's what mommy and daddy's doing. Well, Dad, you withdrew from that class. You dropped out of that class. You didn't turn any homework in that class. You skipped all of your tests in that class. Well, it looks like your attendance is good. You go to all the classes. But somehow you don't show up for any of the quizzes, the tests, and you never turn in homework. Is that what you want me to do in school, Dad? No. Do as I say, not as I do. And you're so freaked out when the kids bring home a bad grade. And what does that really represent? A stupid letter that means nothing in their life. You know how many bad letters I got over the course of my academic career? Who cares? But to you, that matters a lot. But your letter grade here, oh, that's not a big deal. Not a big deal. My kids' letter grades in school, whether or not they do good in chemistry, that's a big dadgum deal. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Their self-confidence, their self-esteem, and their self-worth are big deals when they leave high school and leave college. Their relationship with the Lord, big deal. Right? Their character, the way they treat others, big deal. Those letter grades are nothing. Stupid. We got to go. Your letter grades here matter. Decide that you're going to start looking at the report card. Because I promise you, there's one issue to every single week. But you've got to decide that it matters. Your name is somewhere on a leader's bulletin for our company every single week. Just because you choose not to look at where it's showing up, you don't open the envelope, you don't go online, you don't check it, doesn't mean you're not getting graded. Just means you're ignoring it and pretending like you're not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Well, I don't like the way you're making me feel right now. I'm not making you feel anyway. I'm just providing you with help. When that starts mattering to you, where you finish, what the grade is, what the number of points or recruits or cash flows next year, when that starts mattering to you, you do better. When you start accepting the fact that no matter what's going on in my personal life and no matter what's going on anywhere else in the world, my name and the numbers next to it are my grade and that matters. When you start deciding that on a weekly basis, your performance improves. When you choose to ignore it, your performance doesn't improve, it suffers. Occasionally you'll have a lucky blip. So you've got to choose accountability and seek out the heat and move towards those things to make yourself uncomfortable so that you will grow and so that your results will improve. Right? Growing is one of the funnest things in the world to do. Learning is one of the funnest things to do. But you've got to sort of choose to sort of put yourself underneath that kind of pressure, right? All right. I love you guys. I'm not mad at you guys. I'm not disappointed in you guys, and I'm frustrated at you guys. I love you guys. And I want you to win. I want you to do well. I want you to do lots of homework and take every quiz and every test you can. And a whole bunch of our quizzes and tests here, if you don't do well, you can take them again. Okay? We'll have another quiz, another test coming this Wednesday night. Either you'll have guests or you're not. You don't have guests, you failed. You have guests, you passed. It's a pass-fail system. Okay? Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark.
Treasurer.
Woo!